The time for talking is done. This is going to be a matchup between the two top dogs. We are entering right now the upper final. Whoever wins this is going to be able to walk straight to the grand final. Let's see who's going to be able to pull down map number 1.
And now we're back with Time for Talking, Tettles. Time for Talking with Tettles.
Yeah, so something that's actually difference between these two compositions is that Zamak is actually on the Mist Weaver Monk, where JB is on that tried and true Restoration Druid. I think overall, the Mist Weaver Monk seems like it should be a little bit better of a pick for damage inside of this Reaping environment, but you can't really ever go wrong with playing Restoration Druid. So.
That's true. That's just how it goes. And we're seeing Zamak putting up some big damage and healing with that Way of the Crane, getting himself started. We've seen so many times where popping defensives, getting in as deep into the mobs as they can, because you only have those 15 seconds before the damage buff wears off, before the healing transfers start wearing off as well. So I love how well he's going to be able to get himself in that position, start succeeding, and we're already seeing first boss coming up on the side of Method EU.
For Method NA, they actually popped with their Bloodlust in order to be able to go into Sky Captain Crag with this Reaping Wave, whereas Abracadabra delayed it a little bit, got the Reaping to spawn, then used their Bloodlust in order to be able to do that. Dr. J actually ended up going down. He procced his Cheat Death and ended up actually dying. So that's two defensives that are gone from Abracadabra. He actually didn't use his Riposte. I wonder what ended up happening there.
And the Doctor was certainly out onto that one. And I was just about to say, even though Method EU pulled the boss first, that would have been their opportunity on the side of Abracadabra to pull ahead and boss percentage. But with Dr. J down, that just definitely starts putting a little bit of a damper in them.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's just going to be momentum swinging throughout the dungeon. With this 20 to 30 second difference on whenever you actually end up getting your Bloodlust, I don't really assume that it's actually going to make a difference. This dungeon should probably last somewhere in the range of like 13 to 15 minutes just because of how these teams can pull around Reaping. Utilizing the double Unholy Death Knight will be very important for both sides.
It will be, and another interesting point into the healer differences on that one. You're able to see the rest of Druid pump out way more damage whenever you're having to have him sit out at range. He should often be baiting any of the goops that are popping out of the bird on the side, but you're also seeing Zamak. He has to sit away in the corner, make sure he's staying out of range of the shots coming out from Crag, and make sure he's just getting a little bit of chain lightning damage, but you're seeing the differences right now. 8 to 18 KDPS. It's not even close on this one. Range DPS definitely helps.
Yeah, range DPS absolutely helps. It may have actually been better for Method NA to where they actually used their Bloodlust timing because it overlapped with the Trash Pack and with the boss at the very beginning, whereas Abracadabra's like sole just reaping on the boss with their Bloodlust, it may have actually cost them just a little bit of time. Overall, you see Method NA actually killing the first boss, making their way towards that middle part of the instance, whereas Abracadabra's first boss will be dying in just a few more seconds.
Yeah, not too terrible difference in terms of times on this one, and we still have a lot of room to work with. And keep in mind, we are going to be having to have the drinks going on right now. So the Bilge Rats, whenever you drink with them, you are going to be able to activate the Council of Captains setup. So this makes it a lot easier for them to quickly activate the boss. We're seeing a couple of the guys getting the drink debuff right now, and then they'll be able to set themselves up for a very large pull, because we have to keep in mind, once you activate that, a lot of the trash starts going friendly to you. So you want to be able to round up as much of it as you can. It's much easier if you're just having one last person activating the drinks, activating the bosses once you've already pulled them.
Yeah, so you actually see both sides here drinking really early to be able to make some of those mobs go friendly. I think it may just have something to do with some of the mobs that end up going friendly. You would otherwise not be able to like chain some of the pulls. So you actually get a lot of leeway in terms of that. Method NA actually ends up pulling this straight into the boss here with all of this trash. You actually see the double DK here. They drop their D&D, they pop their Unholy Frenzy, and that trash pack gets evaporated.
It really does onto that one, and you're able to even see just a lot of healing coming out of Lighty as he was just taking a bunch of damage and had to heal himself so much that the healing meters thought he was a blood DK.
Yep, and you actually see on the side of Abracadabra, Dr. J is running away. He ended up grabbing and starting that RP inside of the council area just to make sure that that pig is available whenever they are coming back. They end up pulling some trash into the boss as well. So we're actually seeing very mirrored approaches coming in out of both of these teams.
Yeah, there was a lot of requirements. There's a lot of that had to happen all at the same time. Yoda had to run into that ring of booty, start the role play right there, get back to the group, while Lighty and Shakib, the tanks, the group, were grabbing all those mobs in together, making sure they established threat, drinking the last drink to activate the bosses, and then be able to pull everything in. So we have Captain Raul and Captain Jolly who are taken down and looking pretty equal in terms of the damage.
Okay, so something that's actually different here is Abracadabra actually proc their 40% Reaping Wave here, where on the side of Method NA, they're at 38% trash count, so they actually haven't procced that. So I wonder what the difference towards the back end with that second and potentially third Reaping Wave will actually be. Abracadabra, I don't know if they actually had their cooldowns available, so how worth is it that they procced this second Reaping Wave into the boss? It could have just been inadvertently a little bit dangerous. You could require a little bit more healing, so the healer DPS could have just been a little bit lower on the bosses, whereas on the side of Method NA, they actually do down the second boss a little bit quicker than the Abra.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising not to see them activate the an extra Reaping Wave onto that one. I'm wondering if maybe there was another mob that was missed that did end up going friendly once they did have their final drink. Didn't cause them to activate Reaping at all, but they got another big pull coming in on this one, and they'll be pairing it up with Ludwig von Tortolen pretty soon when that roleplay gets finished, but they have to be able to wrap up the pig first, wait a little while on top of that. Here he comes.
Yeah, so you actually do see him spawn. He actually does a sizable amount of tank damage because he does dual wield. You can actually block or dodge or whatever.
And he can also miss.
Yeah, he can also miss as well, all of the damage, but this trash pack is getting evaporated. You actually see the 2 Death and Decays going down right on top of Ludwig, and he is like 50% health now. So that's just the power of the Unholy Decay.
Power of the Unholy Decay, but I'd like to see them pull something a little bit more in on this one as well, since you only have Risen Souls and you have Ludwig going on right now. Yes, it is fortified. We have more Reaping coming in as well. I think there was just a lot more opportunity as we're seeing the full extent of the Reaping organizing right now. And
Yeah.
I think that Nerf's getting into a pretty decent position if he wants to start pulling some of the mobs around any of the target dummies as well.
Yeah, so I think that's actually pretty interesting. They proc their 40% Reaping on Ludwig, but they're at 56% trash count. Now they're going to pull 2 more mobs and proc their 60% Reaping here, probably also into Ludwig. Of course, Ludwig, whenever
he's almost dead.
Whenever he's actually rezzed as a Reaping mob, he actually will last a long time. But for some compositions, this can actually be to their benefit because he is just like an extra vehicle to get more priority damage.
Yeah, that's very true, especially with having the Outlaw Rogue and keeping your wits about you as a right trait. So you are seeing Nerf grabbing a bunch of mobs in together. That way they will be able to proc that extra Reaping Wave as Trothak, the Shark Slayer, the Shark Puncher, gets himself ready. We get to see the nice entrance. Let's see some fireworks. And they gotta be careful with those fireworks. Oh, they're getting a little bit too close.
Well, looks like the spectators have been burned. Abracadabra also has down Ludwig. They're looking like they're doing a pretty similar pull. Both teams are going to proc their Reaping on Trothak, the Shark Puncher here, but it looks like Abracadabra is just a little bit behind. Not something that 2% trash count can make up at least.
They did end up killing Ludwig. They're about to proc their third Reaping Wave, as well. They have Trothak coming down in just a minute. It seems like they're a couple steps behind onto this one, and you have that plus the extra 5 seconds to say maybe it's 20, 30 seconds total in terms of difference from these teams. Still a lot of room for Abracadabra in order to catch up on this one.
Yeah, just with teaming, it's actually pretty interesting that both of these sides actually elected to hit the brew so early in order to be able to get some of their count.
They haven't even won yet. Why are they hitting the brew so early?
No, they hit the brew on the second boss to be able to... Okay, stop.
All right.
But yeah, I think Abra may be able to turn this around. They actually have an insane amount of trash that they may be able to just like walk straight into the Harlan Suites area using the cannonball barrages in order to deal with all of that. But
I don't think that we're going to see any more trash out of Abracadabra. Once they kill this boss, when they kill all the surrounding mobs, the periphery, they're going to just go straight to Harlan Suites' room and just grab everything on his island.
Did JB just get meleeed by the lost soul of Ludwig?
Yar, matey. You don't want to be messing with Ludwig.
What? He just died like randomly. I think he got meleeed though.
It might have also been some of the sharks running around because it's important to note that any of the slows that are going on to them can start just aggroing them insanely and making it so that only any of the chum lying around in those areas can be stopping them. So might have been a bit of a combination on that one since he was standing pretty near to the boss's charge and he's taking care of every single shark that pops up.
Yeah. So this is actually a really close matchup. I think, like you said, Abracadabra actually is catching ground a little bit. They may actually only end up being about 20 seconds-ish behind. You see Method NA here is starting to get some of that extra trash in order to be able to bridge the gap, whereas Abracadabra just dealing with the lost soul of Ludwig and just single targeting down the boss here.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how much trash is left on Heartland Sweet's final island, but we're fully expecting both of those teams to be able to run in there, make sure they're grabbing everything, rounding it all up. They have 2 more reaping waves potentially to deal with on this one. And hopefully they'll be only having 1 since they'll be trying to kill Heartland Sweet just as the last one spawns. But they're going to have quite a ways to go. There's a lot of trash, and there's going to be a lot of danger in that island as well.
Yeah, so you actually saw a mob sapped on the side of Method in A, and then, okay, so then they shadow melted off the 2 mobs that they were actually pulling on the bridge. Now they're using their Shroud to be able to make it towards Heartland Sweet, of course getting access to the Cannonball Barrage. Abracadabra doing something very similar.
We're going big? Are we grabbing everything?
Man, I don't think they're going to grab everything. I think realistically they're
grabbing everything.
Oh.
They're grabbing everything out of this one. You got the double unholy DKs. You gotta grab everything. We're at BlizzCon, baby. Heartland Sweet been pulled, as well as all of his surrounding guards. And a big mess of damage going to be coming out for those unholy DKs as they're getting some very big stacks and absolutely popping off.
Yeah, so utilizing the unholy DK is pretty important. Whenever Heartland Sweet is above 70% health, he will actually only spawn 1 Cannonball Barrage at a time, whereas once he is actually below that 60% threshold, he will spawn it on 4 members, excluding the tank there, and that makes it really easy for you to be able to kill trash with. However, whenever you have double unholy DK, apparently you can pull that middle pack.
You don't even care.
Yeah, you don't even care about getting all 4 of them. You can just go all the way in.
That's right. I mean, you're seeing Abracadabra as well. They did end up pulling the boss. They're at 78% left on the trash percentage. So going to be looking for Method NA once the next round of cannon fire is going to go out. They grab that next set. Again, all of that cannon damage from Heartland Sweet will be blanketing damage onto those ads. You're just seeing all of the pools of reaping spawn as they end up dying. And they still got a little bit more trash, but we still do have at least 2 or 3 packs left remaining on this island. And we got a whole bunch of reaping mobs on the way.
It's been interesting to see what's occurred. I feel like Abracadabra actually just got off to a little bit slower start at the very beginning of this matchup, and since then they've just been right on Method NA's tails. Unfortunately, it looks like they may end up losing it. Heartland Sweet, once he actually does dip below 30% health, he will cast his cast again, and then he will take 50% increased damage. Method NA only needs 1 more percent, so barring a catastrophic wipe, they're probably going to bring this home. Abracadabra has their Bloodlust rolling. They're doing the last little bit of trash that they need to be able to complete the instance as well currently.
That's right, Abracadabra not too terribly far behind, but now that Method NA has gotten sub 30%, they're pumping in that extra damage, and it does look like they are going to be primed for taking game number 1 from Abracadabra. They're getting that last bit of trash. I thought they already had it wrapped up with them.